Thanks for coming by the Trains Lover channel. Video analytics tell me you don't like my animated intro, so we'll just skip it and get on with the show. Continuing the work from the last episode, more construction was done on the dominoes in the southern peninsula, let's call it, and you can see them here being added and test fitted, and throughout the next few days more work was completed to the point where the blobs at the ends of the peninsula were added. We'll just jump quickly and you can see now everything is taking shape much faster. This is the view from the other side, and then here is the finished peninsula on the north side of the room, and then both peninsulas are finished. This is just within days. And now we can take a look again, overview from the outside, going inside, looking at the staging on the outside. And then we are entering the layout room and all the benchwork is finished. And all you can ask yourself is, what have you got yourself into? Someone might say that the room now looks like a dungeon. I suppose if you're 6 foot something like I am, it does, because the ceiling is close. Yet most people will not have a problem. There is plenty of space to move around in the areas around the blobs. These pinch points are contentious space, that's 20 inches, and the idea with the layout planning would be not to add anything significant there, mostly scenery, so that you're forced to go around the blob, and then all the meets of people would happen in one of these areas like this one here, and then you would go around the blob again into the last section and not have to worry about bumping. But as we all know, somehow everyone always ends up in the same spot at one time, as someone said in one of their videos. I guess good planning of train movements should avoid that, but that's still far ahead of us. Right now we're just looking at the main benchwork being finished. Overall, I'm very proud of what I've accomplished for the short time, considering this is my very first room size layout. January also brought some visits to local train shows. This one's from Ancaster, Ontario, Canada. Some rolling stock and locomotives. And February saw a release of TCS UWT100 and LCC throttle. Then we also went to Kitchener, Ontario again, Canada. These were acquisitions from that show. This was mid-March, right at the dawn of the pandemic close downs. I suppose you could say we lucked out to get to that show because there were no more shows after that. But the new acquisition had to step aside because the work had to continue on the layout, and here we see some staging turnouts being test fitted. But the work in staging came at a later date. Now we are looking at the electrical cabinet Liftout. Here you can see the beginnings of it. Used a 2x4. One of them is slightly shaved off to match the geometry there because the electrical cabinet opening has to come out, and now there is a surface fitted over the lift out section. You can see how it was wedged in between the 2x4 using just blocks of plywood on each end, and they fit snug. The idea is that the dimensions will not change because the room is climate controlled. It's heated in the winter and cooled in the summer, and the humidity usually stays about the same level, 55%. Now we're moving to bottom, and you can see that a similar principle to the dominoes was used with these bulkheads, just smaller ones. The whole lift out section had to be smaller or shorter in dimension than the rest of the dominoes because the ceiling is low in the basement here, and so it would not have come out cleanly if it was any taller. And here it is finished with the backdrop And you can see the backdrop is shorter again because the whole section needs to come out and then be pulled out of that space to make access to the electrical panel feasible. Overall, I think the lift out section turned out pretty good. It's very sturdy and it's built solid. It should not pose much issues, and since the room, as I said, is climate controlled, it will not move much. Obviously, it's been sitting now for several years there, and I've not seen any contractions or expansions during this period. Granted, there was no track laid on it and there was no scenery, but I don't foresee any issues with it in the future. So jumping right back to the other side, now this is the beginning of the lift gate or lift bridge at the entrance of the layout, and you can see how it was done. Drawer glides were used and mounted on the door jambs. Then the bridge itself was mounted into the drawer glides, and you can see here the skeleton for that bridge. Leveling was very critical, obviously, because it's N scale and you don't want anything to slide left or right. And then the foam templates were made that would be used to cut the plywood top. And now the demonstration of the bridge skeleton in place. It's still not perfect. You can see it kind of locking while it's going up, but that's because it's not complete. The top surface will have guides, rollers that will roll over the jambs and keep the equidistant spacing on both ends so that it provides even pressure against the jambs, and so it glides up and down nicer. You would also not be using your hand to move the bridge up and down. Door handles would be installed that pull the pins that hold the bridge in the upright position, but that part is coming up in the future. And that's it for this episode. Hope you liked it. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.